Okay, so to give you some experience with looking at how images can be analysed in an exam, we're going to look at this image from a previous TE exam for the 3A3B course. Now, when we're looking at an image, the first place we should always look at is the contextual information we're given at the bottom. So this is a black and white photograph of people walking past large advertisements for the fashion label Versace. The photograph is entitled Fifth Avenue, New York City, 1995. Now, there's a lot of information given right here in this part of the text. In particular, when you look at Versace, that's a high-end brand of fashion known for rich people and iconic with Manhattan. Fifth Avenue is a city in New York City, and 1995 gives us an idea for when this is happening. Now, what I'd like to draw your attention to is the way the picture is divided along the top half and the bottom half. And so at the top we have these images of models for Versace. And there's something about them that makes me think of them almost as goddesses. They're perfect. There's a certain conflict between the two women on the right, and we see the woman on the far left looking down on the people. There's something about this that reminds me of Greek mythology. And then when we contrast that with the people down the bottom, we see the ordinary common people. But in the center, our eye is drawn to this man. And if we look a little bit more closely, we can see a sign in his hand that says, "Except for the grace of God, there stand I. I'm blind, please buy a pencil." And so when we look back at this man, he is standing up, he's dignified, yet he is desperate for money. And then we're drawn to the image of this woman putting some money in his cup. And when we look around, the common people around this image, they all seem to be looking away. It doesn't matter whether or not they're consciously looking away at the man. The photographer has chosen this image for the fact that nobody is actually looking at this man in the middle of the picture. And so when we look further across here, we see what appears to be father and son. I'm making that assumption because they seem to look alike. And the father is looking across at the homeless man selling pencils. But what really does appeal to me in this image is this figure here, who looks like a goddess looking down on the common people. To her, on the right of the image, we see the part of the wall, and it looks like a Greek column, and that reinforces this idea of this image being a reference to Greek or Roman mythology, with the goddesses of fashion looking down on the common people. So what kind of statement could this be making? This could be talking about the wide gulf between the rich and the poor, how we aspire to be like these gods of fashion, how we all aspire to have those images of wealth, but yet the common everyday people at the bottom, symbolically at the bottom here, are anything but. There is no one in this image that comes close to fitting this glamorous image of fashion. And I think perhaps that this image could also be an attack on materialism. It could be an attack on our society and how we hold up this dream of perfection, this dream of wealth, and we can never actually aspire to it. And we are all identifying with the people down the bottom. Now, with those ideas in mind, we could approach this text in a number of ways. We can look at visual technique in terms of how the different elements of the image are put together. So we can still be looking at how we zero in on the homeless man at the bottom. We look at how the image is framed between the top and the bottom. And we look at these elements of composition when we're making our analysis. And then we can make comparisons to texts we've seen in class. And so with that in mind, keep in mind that here are some strategies for looking at unseen texts.